Welcome back to another episode of Life with Lamb. Today I'm here with Harrison.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you very much for coming. It's been, I guess, a long time in the making. You're like
It has been.
number one fan here.
Wow.
I'm putting it out there. Sorry, Richard and Kevin and everyone. But no, Harrison's been there since day dot, since we've met. How you been?
I've been doing well. I guess enjoying start of second sem. Enjoying going out. That's probably why my voice is it's a bit hoarse today, but yep.
Had a big one.
Yeah.
And for the listeners, I guess tell them a bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
I guess, like you said, I'm Harrison. I am a first year biomed student at Melbourne Uni, and I guess that's kind of how we met, through your wonderful girlfriend, Issika.
She's very wonderful.
She was my peer mentor, and then she kind of introduced me to the BSS. And then I think we met at one of the events there.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
Somewhere through that, and then we've been friends ever since. And
Yep.
Harrison's been a loyal listener to Life with Lamb, and can't thank him enough for it.
Great.
I guess dive into a bit more about yourself. You know, like what do you like doing?
Yep.
What are you about? You know.
I think definitely over the past few years, I've been really into like the gym, working out. Loved kind of the whole atmosphere there, going there with people. It's a nice, I guess, health and social kind of combination. So, it does help me keep fit. Mental health helps all that. But then it's also, I'm going there with friends, hanging out. And there's also sometimes where, you just want to like go there by yourself, chuck your headphones on and just kind of pick up and put down heavy things.
Yeah, amazing. It's I think it's a wonderful outlet. Like, whether it do be gym or something else, like, I don't know, going for a walk or sitting down and drawing or doing arts and those sorts of things.
100%.
Like, such a important aspect of life, having some sort of an outlet or obsession.
Yes.
I guess talk to us about uni. Like, how are you finding first year? I think you've come at like almost the end of what would be, I don't know, the worst years of uni, I guess, like all online, no in-person lectures or tutorials. Like, we're slowly easing back in. How are you finding that?
I've really been enjoying it. I think it has been a lot. There's like no doubt about it. There's been like a lot of work. I think maybe especially because with the course I'm doing and all the other extra things I'm trying to fit into my life. But I think just being able to be like on campus with people and just seeing people every day is just, it's so much better. Like in high school, I remember that period where we're just like in and out of lockdown, and those times where you would come back to school, even if it was for like a week, and you would see someone, it would just make your day. You would just feel like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in ages. Like, it felt so long since you've seen someone. And just walking through uni, even though I know barely anyone there because the campus is just massive, like, I was not expecting how many people and just how big everything is. And it's just amazing to just like see faces. It's like, it's so underrated. I don't think we appreciate it enough. Just, looking someone in the eyes, just seeing someone's face, like their facial expressions, just all of that. It's very special.
It is very special.
Experience.
I think, like you said, I think it's such an underrated thing, and I think a lot of people started to underappreciate actual face-to-face connection.
Yeah.
And then now that we've come back onto campus and just like in general, like being able to go out for a coffee or go out, have brunch and dinner and everything, like we really miss that as humans, because like we sort of long for that connection.
Yep.
And that's like, I guess, why I do the podcast. Like, I love chatting to people. Yep. I love hearing their stories, and I can't wait to get into yours. Why biomed? You know, it's a pretty prestigious subject at the University of Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, because for me, it was definitely choosing between like, do I go science or do I go biomed? Because I do want to go into that kind of healthcare, whether it be, practicing with medicine or going into research and developing different treatments. I think one thing that I liked was with biomed, you were a bit more restricted in your choice. I think with science, like all the options for me kind of scared me a bit, and I was like, I didn't know exactly like what I had to pick. While with biomed, it was almost like was laid out for me a bit more clearly, and I could see how everything connected. I also like the fact that it's a bit smaller of a cohort, so I guess, with the group that you do connect with, it does feel a bit more connected and like a bit more kind of close. And I think that might be from, I guess, my experiences in high school of like, so at my high school they had VCE and also IB, and I went down the IB track. And that was a much like smaller cohort. It was only like 40 of us in like a cohort of 220. So having that smaller cohort, it felt a bit more familiar, I think, for me.
Yeah, 100%. I think, with science, it's really hard because I think most of them go off and do further studies on top of that because there's just so many subjects to choose from unless you absolutely know what you're going to do. I think that's the case with biomed as well. Like, I've questioned Issachar, questioned Josh Seddon, and now you. Like, I think I'm getting the gist of like how biomed works. Like, you go under this three-year undergraduate program, very hard, strenuous, just gosh, a lot of work. Sounds very, very stressful. I don't know where you find the time for it. But then you go off and I assume you're wanting to pursue med?
Yep.
Is that the end goal?
Yep.
Amazing. Sure. How'd you land to that decision? Like, has that always been a dream for you, or did you come across certain circumstances?
I think I wouldn't say it's always been a dream goal. I think it's definitely like certain circumstances along my life have shaped that decision. I think probably the main one would have been with my grandfather and his experiences with the healthcare system and his health. So he does have a terminal autoimmune disease, and like a very rare one, and he's been like in and out of hospital quite a bit. And I think seeing some of the experiences he's had with doctors, healthcare, it's kind of made me think, I believe there's something I could do there. And it's, he definitely inspires me a lot because he's, immigrant from Greece. He's deaf, but like, so he has a cochlear implant, but very like hard of hearing, doesn't understand much English. So I think the one thing that's attracted me a lot to pursue like healthcare and medicine is making it more accessible for a lot of people. So whether that be medicine like in Melbourne or even going out rural and doing kind of practice and helping support out there.
Amazing. What's it like having a grandpa or a grandparent that doesn't necessarily speak the English language? Because I for one can totally relate. Like, my grandparents live right downstairs under the podcast room, and I guess grandma and grandpa know a little bit of English, but not enough for me to have like, I guess, like really deep worldly conversations that you sort of see a lot of like Australian parents have. Australian kids have with their grandparents, and like, sometimes I feel really envious of them. But describe your relationship with your grandpa.
I love my grandfather. He's a beautiful man. He's very full of life. And he's just like a very kind of happy and jokey man. Loves a good joke. But I think his experience with like people and like communicating has like changed a lot, because he was a very sociable man in his youth. And I think now, because he does have like hearing difficulties, he does feel a bit like ostracized from the world. And, there'll be times where he can't really understand conversations. So I always try to, always talk to him, even if it's just like the most basic things. Like, my Greek isn't amazing. Like, my listening is better than like what I can speak. I always kind of cop it for like my accent.
No, I'm the same with Cantonese as well. Like, sometimes I can say like thank you and like, oh, can I please have this? It's very limited. So I completely relate to you.
Yeah. So, I love having conversations with him, and even if it's not fully like discussing, like you said, like these big like worldly issues and like what's happening in the world, big like philosophical debates or anything like that, it's just being there with him. And, you know, just we could be watching the news or he's really into like, I don't even know what they're called, like the NCIS and all those like those
the criminal shows.
Yeah. My grandma and him, they love watching those like Walker Texas Ranger. I don't know how that like found.
I mean,
it out,
it's what's on TV. I
Yep.
think like once you get old, I feel like TV is your best
Yep.
sort of outlet. And my grandma's discovered YouTube. Like
Oh.
she's on the YouTube like 24/7. I swear, she's like finding new recipes to cook and
Yep.
everything. It's just like the internet's been a blessing, but sometimes I guess like I wish I had that communication with my grandparents. But like you said, like being there for them is amazing, and it's great to see that like you've taken inspiration from your grandparents and like wanting to do better for them in the healthcare system.
Yep.
So I commend you for that. I guess growing up, what were you like as a kid?
I don't. My parents always told me that I was called the little mansies. That's what my mum always called me, because for one, I looked a lot like my dad, and then also just like my behavior and just like how I was. So yeah, I don't know. I think I wasn't the most outgoing kid. I was probably a bit more introverted, a bit shy. But then I did love just talking. Someone, I think one of our builders once told me that I could put a glass eye to sleep. So there were just little things, like bits of information I'd just like soak up and just like remember. Like very like small, minute details that no one would like really care about, but I'd just like pick it up, remember it, and just like ramble on about it for ages. But yeah, I love talking. I always had like little kind of fixations of just like small things of you know, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh, amazing!
Love Thomas the Tank
Love
Engine.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh my god.
No, that was literally the best childhood TV show growing up,
was-
and I don't think you can ever contest that.
It was my favorite, and it was just little things like that. You know, books. I don't know what happened, but I used to love reading when I was a kid, and then now, I don't know, I might read like 3 or 4 books a year, maybe.
That's 3 or 4 more than me. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know, but maybe because with high school, like you're forced to read.
That's true.
It
Yeah.
became more like you have to read this. It became less of like, what do you enjoy? But yeah, I think I was a pretty stocky, pretty big kid. I think coming from a Greek family, loved my food.
Oh, Greek
Still
food
do.
is amazing. Like
Yeah.
I think one of the best. Like so hearty, just great
It
all
is.
round.
I think just look, I won't be biased, but I do love Greek food. I'll say Mediterranean food in general. That whole region is beautiful.
Yes,
Love
very
that
beautiful.
food.
What's your favorite?
Like meal or
Yeah.
say my favorite meal. Probably it's because it's more like nostalgic, and I love it when I'm sick. It's like this rice dish called pilafi. I think in Turkey as well they have something very similar, but it's just like it's rice cooked in like a chicken broth, and then
Yum.
what I do, it's a bit, I don't know, it might be a Greek thing, it might be just like my family thing, but I love spreading Greek yogurt on top of it. Like you have just a plate and then you spread it on top and you just eat it. Whenever I was sick, it was that or tuna and rice.
Oh, yes, classic.
So those were like my go-to sick meals.
Yeah, fair enough. And like I guess as you mentioned, like you're a stocky kid. You've obviously built yourself up quite nicely. You're very handsome. he's a bit flustered. No, Harrison is a very handsome man. He's hitting the gym quite a solid unit. We'd love to see it. What's your fitness journey been like, or like what's your sort of journey been in terms of I guess your nutrition and those sorts of things? Because you either come from like a skinny route, build yourself up, or you're like a little bit bigger, like myself, and then you sort of trim down a little bit. Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely came from like the bigger side down, kind of trimmed myself down. And I think I can't remember when exactly it started, but I think I've always had like a little, like I've been self-conscious about like my weight, just like body image, like how I looked, and it was always like trying on clothes. I think that's what kind of that was the killer. It's like when you're a kid and then like you have to start shopping in like the men's section.
Yes.
That's where it was for me. I was like,
Oh, okay.
because like I wasn't like very tall, but like they would fit around like my legs, but then just like at the bottom they would just be like super long.
I think that's like the all-time dilemma for like 5'10", 5'9" people. Like, I swear, like when I'm shopping pants, like the waist fits fine, and then it's just like a dress
Yes.
all the way down. Yeah, talk to us about that. I guess like from it. So you feel like it developed from like quite a young age?
I think when I was younger, it was just more of an awareness. Like I was just like, yeah, like I'm a bit like bigger, bit bigger legs, bit like shorter. But then as I think I got older, looking at like other kids, like certain comments as well. I think I was like always people would say things, and I'm a bit of a sensitive soul. I'd take things pretty like to heart.
I mean, who is it really?
Yeah.
Like, it just depends how much we show it.
Yeah. So I think it might have been up maybe year 11 or year 10, somewhere there. It would have been just before COVID. So just before COVID is when like I was thinking, maybe I do need to start like looking after myself a bit more, watching what I eat. So I actually did go and see a like a nutritionist about it. So my parents kind of helped me like get in contact with one, and I started seeing him. He helped me with like the foods I was eating, exercise as well, starting to get back into that, because I guess I was always like relatively sporty. Like I did tennis and swimming from a young age, and then it would have been like year 5, year 6 is when I started getting into cricket, and that was probably a bad move in terms of like my health, because I wasn't moving as much, but I was still eating the same or even more. So
Calories in, calories out. And cricket, you're standing
much
there on a pitch in the sun all the day, and then I guess unless you're batting or like fielding a far ball that comes your way,
you're not
like
really moving that
not
much.
really moving at all.
So, and I think just like being in the heat would like make you more tired, more fatigued, but like you weren't actually like exercising. So then like you would eat more, because it was just like, it was a bit of the perfect storm. And like I stopped swimming and tennis. So like my more physical outlets of sport was stopped. But yes, and when I started going to the nutritionist, it was like, just before COVID. So I think for the first few months there was like, I'd lost a bit of weight, nothing like too like dramatic, nothing too obvious. And then we kind of went into lockdown. And that first lockdown, I definitely like I stuck to it. I kept going, and it was nice to kind of see the progress for myself, and just seeing it like those numbers kept going down. And when we did go out of lockdown for the first time, and people saw me, it was like, okay, I had that internal validation. Now I'm getting this kind of external validation, and that that was really nice, because I'd never really gotten those kind of compliments about like how I looked, apart from like my family and like my grandparents, my grandparents especially. So it was nice. And then I guess that kind of spurred me on to do it a bit more, and it just like kept going, and I would be exercising more frequently. And I just kind of started really enjoying it. I guess then it probably took a bit more of a turn in terms of what my goals became. So it shifted a bit more away from health and more to how I look. And I started focusing on that a bit more, almost obsessing over it. And, you know, there would have been days where I was really strict with myself, thinking about, you know, what am I eating today? Like thinking from as soon as I woke up in the morning, planning my entire day out of like what I'm going to eat. And then if there were days where, or like weekends where I knew, okay, we're going to go out for dinner as a family, we have some sort of family function, I would prepare myself and say like, okay, I'm not going to eat until then. So then I can like enjoy with the family and not kind of like look weird for not eating. I think because prior to that, there would be, I'd eat normally, eat with the family, go home and just feel so stressed, so anxious, being like, oh my God, like, why did I eat so much? How could I let this happen? How could I let this happen? Yeah, it was very, I guess there was a lot of kind of anxiety around that, a lot of stress about like what I was doing to myself.
Yeah. You say like the internal validation and the external validation followed after. Well, I guess like the internal validation that came first, and that's such a great thing always. And I think it's important that people keep in mind that yes, there's a number on that scale, but then it's like what's made of that number as well. I think like, and this might be segregating it all, but like a lot of females, they look at the scale and they're like, oh shit, like my weight's going up. But it's like, you're very hormonal at the moment. You're obviously going to fluctuate here and there. Like your weight's going to fluctuate, but it doesn't mean that your body composition is going to fluctuate too much as well.
Exactly.
Even as males, like our weight's going to fluctuate in our teens. Like we're going to pack on so much weight and like so much muscle as well. And like sometimes fat alongside that. So it's like, it's good to keep in mind that like what is actually happening to your body and not to just fixate on this number, because things like the BMI are so outdated now. It's like, oh, what's your height? What's your weight? I would be considered like morbidly obese if I put my height and my weight in the BMI. Like that's to put it into perspective. Like I feel like I'm not morbidly obese, like a little bit chubby, you know, like we're still getting there. But like I wouldn't consider myself morbidly obese. So it's really important that people take, I guess, your weight with a grain of salt. And it's great, like sometimes people use that as like a goal, but it should be your only goal. Like because muscle again weighs like 2 times more than fat. Just to put it into perspective. And then in terms of external validation, was it people that I guess used to call you those names started noticing, or people close around you, and how did that make you feel overall?
I think the external validation was definitely more just like people noticing me a bit more and being like commenting on it. What I did find really interesting was some of those people that like were calling me those names, when they like saw me and like it was, I think it was for some sports match, and like I was wearing the school sports singlet, and you know they started like asking me like, oh, what you've been doing, and they like really got into the conversation, which I found really strange, like because you know like a year ago you were like, you would not have been talking to me like this, but then now there's like it's changed a lot. So I think because of that, I thought, oh, the way I look affects how people think of me.
And then that was sort of like the catalyst for this spiral. Not amazing, but like I guess it explains it, and it's like it's crazy to think that small things like that happened in the like I guess just trigger something in the mind that, okay, well this is it, this is like this is the key, this is how people will validate me, and this is how I'll feel good about myself, like from external validation from other people. I guess how far down did it go, like how bad did it get, and yeah, I guess talk to us a bit about that.
No, of course,
if you don't mind, of course.
No, that's all right. I think apart from the days where like I'd really structure out what I'm eating, I do that still to an extent, but I think it's a bit more like lenient, where I might plan like, oh, I'm gonna eat something around this time, or you know I'm gonna make sure I eat something before I go work out or after I work out. And it's not so much focused on the exact foods, the exact amount of calories I'm eating all the time. I guess I'll have a goal overall. How I get there kind of fluctuates a bit. If I go over, it's not the end of the world. I think there were definitely days where I wouldn't eat a thing. I would just like, water, Barocca, that's all. Toothpaste kind of to help calm the hunger. And I think being in lockdown, that I guess almost helped in a way, because like no one would really see me of like, you're not really eating, like, is something all right? Is something up? So I could hide it a lot better. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
And then there were, I think, the most extreme it would have gotten would have been times where, because I love food. I like eating, just food in general. It's so comforting for me. It's just a great experience, and like the taste of food. There would be times where I would just like take bites of food, keep it in my mouth, just like enjoy the flavor of it, and then just spit it out in the bin. So then I wouldn't actually be eating, but I would feel like, okay, these are the tastes in my mouth. That was probably the worst it got. But yeah, that was, I couldn't remember how long ago that was, but it was definitely, looking back on it now, I think, it was a horrible way for me to deal with it, and I think I regret not reaching out earlier.
I guess. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just like not reaching out earlier to my friends, family, and just, yeah, I think that whole lockdown definitely made it a lot easier for me to hide away from everyone and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it acted in like people's best interest or in their worst interest as well. Like we see, like the first scenario where I guess like lockdown really benefited you because you were able to just like stay true to your goals and really grind out like your nutrition and exercise on the down low without people like judging you or anything. And then you came back and you were this brand new person. And then there's the flip side where it's like, oh, well, these people actually can't, like, I'm actually like, I guess immune to those comments, and like they can't really make those comments about me, about like my image or anything, and then I can sort of hide behind it, and it's like, well, if no one's telling me otherwise, then I can do it. I guess what are some tips that you would put out or reach out or give to yourself even at the start of that second lockdown?
I think it would be stay in contact with people more, and not just like through social media platforms, because I think we all know you can hide so much through that. So physically going out with people, I think in my case it would have been like have like a social distance picnic, like when that was like an okay thing to do, or just a Zoom dinner. Like I think I did that a few times with my friends, where we'd just eat dinner over Zoom. And like family, that was really nice. And I think make more of family dinners for me. So there would be a lot of times where, because I was studying as well, I would just grab my food, go to my desk, not really like touch it that much, eat like a few bits here and there, but the dinners where I did spend sitting down with my family, it was really nice. I really enjoyed it because despite everything that may have been going on in the day, arguments over like, get off the Wi-Fi, I'm like trying to have a meeting, or can you close the door, please be quiet. My brother screaming across the house, like asking for my help or something like that. When it came to dinner time, everything just kind of stopped, and we're just there eating together. We're not one of those families where we just sit down and just like silently eat. We'd like discuss, would talk. So yeah, it was, I think, again, one of those things that we really don't appreciate or we underappreciate.
No, I when you put it like that as well, it is such a special time when you do sit down with your family, and I guess I implore anyone to do so. Like, when I'm home, like every night, 7 p.m., brother, me, mum, dad, grandma, grandpa, sit down at the table, have dinner, and like while we might have like the Chinese TV on in the background because we're like downstairs where grandma, grandpa live, like, or just talking about someone's day or in silence, like it's that sort of solitude where everyone's together, we're at peace, everything sort of stops for that like half hour, 45 minutes, and then you continue on with your life. And like, I think that brings so much peace into my life as well whenever it does happen. And I'm sure you can totally relate as
100%. Well. I think it's almost like a practice of like mindfulness, because I remember I did get into a bit of that over lockdown and just like recently, where you just kind of take a moment to just slow down, and you know, you don't have to be doing anything. I guess in that case we're like eating dinner, but just slowing down, I think, is just something I try to do a bit more.
Yeah, amazing.
It's hard when like you've got so much going on, all these different things, and it's just like when you really just step back and just look at everything, it's nice just seeing the world go by.
100%. And yeah, it is a form of mindfulness in itself. Like as I don't know, as trivial as it might sound to some people, like, oh no, we're just having dinner. It's like you're taking the time out of your day to just sort of be there.
Yep.
Be present in the moment and spend time with people that you love. And I think it's such a like special thing.
Definitely. I love it.
Yeah. I guess uni. What was your transition from high school to uni? Like?
I think it was definitely bits of it were a bit more of a shock than other parts. I was definitely very kind of surprised at the relationship between like different like years. I guess like first, second, and third years compared to year 10s, 11s, and 12s.
That's true, because if you put them all together from first, second to third, they're basically 10 11, 12. Yeah.
Yep. So, like, in high school, at least my school, it felt the relationship between, say, year 10 and year 12 was very different. Like, you wouldn't really talk with each other.
No.
Like, the year 12s, like, hated the year 10s. The year 10s thought they were, like, better than everyone. And then in uni, it's, like, it's so much more different. It's very, you're all very, like, on the same level. Like, you're, I wouldn't say colleagues, because that's a bit too like business work like, but it's friendlier.
Yeah, I think everyone's just like in it together.
Yeah.
So I guess like a third year might still do like a first year subject as well. Whereas like in year 12, it's not like, yeah, you might do like an extended 1-2 subject, for VC, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people can relate more in uni, and you're in an environment where everyone can sort of like thrive, and you're like always within each other's day-to-day lives. But then I don't know, like with year 10, 11, 12, like you're in different classes, I guess. I don't know.
It's
it's hard to explain.
It is, but it's just, I don't know what it is, but there is just something about it. Maybe it may be a maturity thing, I'm not sure, but there's something about it that is just very different, and it's a good different. It is a very good different.
I guess, yeah, how did you get involved with like second and third years? Because I guess some Jaffies, or just another first year, come in and they're like, okay, I'm just going to stick with like first year students.
I think, because I went on the camp at the start of the year, just being there with like the camp leaders who were all second and third years, they were having so much fun. We were having fun. So it was just, everyone was kind of getting along together. And then, I think I just kind of just would be talking with them a lot more, asking them questions. I don't know. I've always found it very natural to just, it sounds weird, but like talk with people that are like older than me.
I agree.
I think it might have been because when I was young, my mum would like always drag me along to her work events. So I would be chatting there with like her work friends who were, 20, 30 years older than me. And I would just talk with them. So it did feel quite natural talking with the second and third years, even though they're not that much older than me, but at the time, you know, it did feel like, wow, these people, they know so much more like about all the subjects. It's just, and they're great people. I'll gravitate to good people. Doesn't matter, like, you know, if they're, I guess, like my grandparents' age. Just great to talk to.
Yeah, amazing. I think like sometimes you definitely find people who are a bit older, and maybe it is a maturity thing, to be these good people, just because I guess they're more tenured, they have more experience, more life experience, uni experience, and everything. Like they provide a greater perspective, and you'd find like with most of my guests on the podcast, like they're a bit older, sort of thing. I feel like I really enjoy hearing their perspective and like how they got to where they are, and like it shows like in terms of like you going to your mum's work events and stuff, like you talking to older people, like you seem like a very well put together and mature young man already. So
thank you.
I appreciate I appreciate you like taking the time out of your day to like talk about like your I guess borderline eating disorder and I guess your journey about that, and I really appreciate it. So
that's right. Thank you for for having this conversation.
It's all good. We're not done yet. I'm just saying thank you. In terms of like uni, like what are some advice that you could give to I guess people transitioning from that high school environment to a uni environment?
I think be prepared to be thrown into the deep end a lot sooner than you'd think. I think I definitely found it, a bit of a shock that like you just kind of like pushed off the edge. It's like
it's a good experience though.
It is a very good experience. But I think having that awareness of I am going to be pushed off that edge kind of would have helped me a bit more. I guess people did tell me that uni is a lot more independent, all that, but I didn't really expect how much more it would be. So I think being prepared for that leap is really important. And I would say dive into the social aspect of uni, because it is, I would say, a bit calmer in a way than high school, because in high school you've got like 7 hours like straight of school, while uni it's a bit more broken up. There's more space for socializing and doing things like that. So I would say in that first kind of part of the year, really dive into it, because as you kind of make your way through the year, it does become a bit more difficult, not impossible. Still, I would say quite easy at uni to kind of make friends, but it does become a bit easier, a bit harder. It's easier at the start, because at the start, everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's looking for friends. Everyone's looking to meet new people. So, if you just find a couple of people, they'll know 2 more people, and then those 2 people know 2 more people, and it just exponentially grows of the amount of people you know.
Yeah. And
it makes uni a lot better when you can go into a class and be like, oh yeah, I know that person. So it's a bit more comforting. I think with like subjects, I would say don't stress too much about being on top of everything all the time, because I think you'll find in like group chats there'll be people asking about like, oh, next week's content, or like the content after that. It's like, I've already finished this assessment. And it can ruin your motivation. And I think for me, when you see that, it would be like, geez, I'm not working hard enough. And you do kind of get a bit of that imposter syndrome.
It's pretty toxic.
Like, do I really belong here? Like, should I be here? There's all these other people working so hard, like doing all this stuff. And like, then there's me, and like, I'm still a week behind on lectures. So,
I sorry to cut you off. I hate when people do that. Like, say, oh, like, has anyone finished this assessment? Or like, has anyone started next week's content? And it's like, okay, like,
calm down.
calm down. Like we get it. Like just chill out. Like there are other people who might have certain circumstances that don't let them like excel the way you are. I feel like in a way, like subconsciously they are putting it out there just to enforce that pressure. And I think it's just so important that sometimes you keep those things to yourself and maybe just ask like someone close or help, not I guess like poke and prod and see like, oh, who's behind, like who's and then like sort of make fun of them. Like I think it's just so toxic when people do that. And it's just like not productive at all. Like what gain do you have? Ask you that question.
I think it's definitely them trying to like, this might be a stretch, but it's almost reaffirming their maybe like insecurities and making sure that like, you know what, I am on top of things. When staying on top of work is probably something, you know, it's good to do. It's fantastic. Highly recommend. But life gets in the way and it's just hard to stay up with everything.
Yeah, and I think just reaffirming the message that it's okay to be behind and be lagging behind. Like you will get to it. Maybe just not to the extent that someone else is. And it's like you said, that imposter syndrome, like it's such a toxic thing that happens, and I'm experiencing it more and more as I grow older. But just like reassuring myself, saying, no, look, like you have all these commitments and everything that's happening on the side. Like you're doing the best that you can at the moment. But then it's like not letting that, I guess, determine your whole mindset as well. Because at the end of the day, work has to be done. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I think one thing that definitely helped me throughout, you know, balancing everything would be timetabling what I had to do, but not just my work, also my social events. And, you know, really like blotting out a portion of time saying, I'm going out then. I've got some sort of event. I'm going out with friends. I'm doing that at that time. That time is dedicated to social, having fun.
Yeah. How good's the calendar?
Oh, I love it. I love a calendar. I love it. And just because I found that there were some times where I'd go out and in the back of my head, I'd be thinking, oh no, I haven't done this, and this. I could have been doing that now, but now I'm out. Oh no, tomorrow I'm going to be stressed, and it just like snowballs in your mind. But then when I would be planning it out a bit more, I would be thinking, okay, this time I'm having fun. I can do my work when I've scheduled to do my work. So
yeah. Amazing. And you're balancing like tutoring and everything as well. Actually, no, you're part of BSS. How important is it to join like a society? I know you were talking about like how important it is to dive into social groups and social situations because you're new and you are a first year representative at the Biomed Student Society. So talk to us a bit about that.
I think joining society, club, whatever it may be, I think it is a great thing to do for anyone, because you find some of them are a bit more niche, some of them are a bit more broad, so you can really explore your interests. And I think the most important part is you're going to meet new people and you're going to have fun. You're going to be in a group that is going to support you in what you're going to do and what you want to do. And I think some of those bigger societies, like for the courses, so like science, arts, biomed, commerce, all those, they can be a bit intimidating, but it allows you to just, you know, get some connections with people in that course, and you can share the experience of being behind, because I think people often underestimate how many people are in your situation. And it's nice to kind of relate with other people that, you know, you're on lectures from 2 weeks ago. Same. How nice is that?
Yeah.
It's like embracing. It's not great to like embrace, you know, like how behind you are, but it makes you feel more comfortable in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you don't, the stress goes down a bit, and you can just kind of, you just breathe.
You can breathe, exactly. I
breathe.
think, being part of a society, like you get that relatability, and just like, I guess a safety net to fall back on. Like you have a support network now, like people who you might think like, oh, we're a bit like more of a professional stance, I guess, because we're part of a committee. But no, like they're literally uni students as well, and like there's some shoulder to lean on. And I think it's really important that, yeah, you might not necessarily want to join a society, but I highly, highly recommend you do so. I think like the professional skills that you learn from some of them as well, like attending meetings, getting like posts out, posting for events, like you might think is really like, oh God, like I don't want this on my Facebook or anything. But I think people see that and they like want to be a part of it as well a lot of the time. Or you can also interview really well and say, hey, look, like these are the organizational skills that I learned as being part of a committee and like getting those roles, like first year representative. That sounds like all mighty and glory, you know?
Like, wow.
It's like, oh my God, like a first year representative. You might not think that. Someone who's interviewing you might. So I guess put that into perspective too. Yeah. I guess you're juggling tutoring as well. We'll quickly finish off with this. Like how are you finding all that and like what have you learned as a person?
I really enjoy it. I think you get to see like how different people learn. And it's like a nice thing to just like watch and just observe. And I guess I've also seen the impact, excuse me, the impact of COVID, of that whole situation on younger students, and how that is maybe not destroyed, but kind of reduced their motivation. So there have been a lot of cases where, you know, I'd go to a tutoring session and the kid would just not want to do anything. Just be like, no, I don't want to get any work done. There have been some where the kid was like, oh yeah, I've got these textbook questions to do, but I didn't bring my textbook. I didn't bring my textbook home. I'm like, okay, can you get it online? I'm like, yeah, I think so, but Teams isn't working. So, okay, can you get on Teams through Google? I'm like, yep. So he does that, and all these like different ways, like almost trying to like get out of work. And I'm just in my head thinking, I've been in your position before. This is not my first rodeo. But then almost having like once we did get the work going and did, you know, smash out some questions, I could see him enjoying it more, and just he'd be like, you know what, I can do this. I know what I'm doing, and you know what, maybe I'm enjoying it a bit.
Yeah. How have you found, I guess, like your personal growth as a tutor? Like upon reflection, like do you feel that you've grown being able to like teach and maneuver yourself around, I guess, younger students?
I think definitely it helped a lot with organizing my week of like, you know, because it's easier for them when I've got like a set time that we're going to be doing tutoring this time every single week. So that would help me plan my week. And I think the actual tutoring experience, like teaching them, definitely helped a lot with my patience, and, you know, being able to just work through those questions in a calm manner.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, because I do a lot of maths tutoring, I would, when I was young and like doing maths, I just like to smash them out. Because like, you know, I wouldn't say I was amazing at maths, but like it was one of my stronger suits. Not like I was good at just like methods and like just above, like in terms of like the IB level. So I was good at that. I was not like the maths brain of like special like that kind of high level maths, but I enjoyed just like smashing out questions. And tutoring some kids that were, you know, maybe a bit slower in their processes just taught me, okay, maybe I just have to hang back a bit and just slow it down with them.
Yeah, amazing. And I think, again, I've interviewed a few teachers. Like Mia was a swim teacher. That's the first one that pops into mind. Like I was a swim teacher as well. Yeah, it's just like, you know how to do this. It's just like, how do you go about empathizing with someone who might not be able to necessarily complete the same skills to like your standard or as fast as you do. And like, which ways do you go about, I guess, working with them and working towards finishing these questions and those sorts of things. I think empathy like comes straight into mind.
No,
Yeah.
100%. It was, I think at the start, it was a very slow process of, okay,
It's like, oh shit.
we're going to have to really go back. But I think because it is a one-on-one tutoring session that I do, it's a lot easier because you get to know the kid a bit more. You chat about other things, if they're into footy, what music they listen to, what TV shows, all those kind of other small things. It makes the whole experience a lot more enjoyable for them. And then, they just happen to be doing better at their subject that, it's a nice way of tutoring rather than just like very rote learn, like these are all the things we're going to get done today. Thank you, goodbye.
Yeah, that's it.
Just
And
move
see ya.
on.
See you later. Yeah. I guess I implore like anyone listening to take on those teaching roles as well. And I think like relating back to imposter syndrome, like I'm sure you might feel a bit more adequate in yourself as a person in terms of like teaching as well. Like I'm sure your teaching skills have like skyrocketed or something,
Yeah.
And like as a swim teacher, I guess it validates like, hey, like I actually know these skills and it's swimming, like
Yep.
actually, you know what? Some people might not be able to swim. I take that back. So, I think try your best to put yourself in situations where you can teach other people because I think you learn a lot more about yourself and also about other people.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to finish on?
I think just a nice message. It would just be get out there, smile more. I think it's just nice when people just like smile and you just see someone smiling. And just enjoy other people's company. Embrace the small things in life. That's so cliche, but
We love cliches on this podcast.
I love it. It's just, what's another one? If you look after the small things, the big things just take care of themselves.
Amazing.
So
Awesome. Harrison,
things.
Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. I really
all right.
appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Sorry about my voice.
Yeah, I know he's sort of struggling. He's lasted 50 odd minutes, but he's done really well. I really appreciate it. And see you in the next episode.
Thank you for having me.